So when you think about it, Jeff, what you've done for the past 30 years, what has made you successful, you know, as an author, as a motivational speaker, as the innovator of companies, really has been built from the foundation of a relationship. And your family shows that.
Right.
And you don't see a lot of that.
Right.
It's all money driven. It's not family and relationship. And I think that's one of the things that I don't know if a lot of people realize that, but you've ridden the wave and you know how to stay on top of the wave.
It was really interesting because one time in my past, I actually built a TV network around personal development, produced 937 TV shows around family, finance, health, career. And through that process, I got to know all the people with the content. I mean, and every one of them had incredible content. But I noticed the ones who were successful were the ones who could relate. Okay, and so I would watch these people. I mean, we were producing everybody's shows, and they were coming into the studios every single day, and it was amazing. I never questioned a person's content, but I always was looking at how they related, and it really started right here. You know what happened between us, and it's the most interesting thing. And I never quite put my finger on this, but it was always amazing how the person who could relate one-on-one could relate through a camera to millions of people. And so there's got to be something connective there. You know, there's an intuitive instinct, you know, almost a certain cadence that comes out of a person. And I think it comes more when you really are coming from your truth, you know, that people sense that. And it was just always amazed me how some people, equally amazing in content, but one person rose significantly higher to the ability to create a feeling of comfort in relationship with somebody else.
Take me back 25, 30 years ago. To see what you see today, I want to know, did you ever think you would have gone through some of the losses, the gains, the disappointments, and the highs and lows, almost like a Richter scale? You know, if I look back at your life, I'm thinking, my gosh, if there was an example of an earthquake on a Richter scale, it's Jeff Olson, because you have done this so many different times, but yet you've always believed that there was something that was going to satisfy you in the end. Is that a fair way to put it?
It's fair. There's been times I've thought back through the most challenging times of my life, of which all in one way or the other led to the good things. Every one of them, when I think about them now, I ask myself, how did I survive? How did I go through it? Because I was looking at it in a whole, but when you're in the middle of it and all you know is just the next step, it's the next step, it's the next step, it's the next step, and you just keep going forward, it eventually erode itself, you know. And so, if somebody told me 25 years ago this is what you're going to go through, I'd say, time out, I don't want to be a part of it. But looking back, all those things mattered. Every single one of them mattered in some way. They're taking you down some path, some piece of knowledge. You know, sometimes it's just important to find out what doesn't work. It's as important to find out what works. Sometimes you got to become what you're not to find out who you are. You know, so these are paths you got to go down to get to this whole person you are. And I'm still not there, and I never will be there. I mean, the day you think you're there is the day you kind of lost the zest for life, in my opinion.
It's kind of ironic that you say that. Some people kind of chuckle when I say, there isn't a day that I don't wake up and I just hope that I'm going to learn maybe not 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe a dozen. I want to learn a dozen things today that I didn't know yesterday, and never feel that I know it all. Because when that happens, I might as well just pull the blanket up and go to sleep, because that's really it. But a lot of people can't get past that. I don't understand why.
Well, a couple of things. First of all, you got to be open to it. In my opinion. So Coach, if you're going to have a philosophy of life, one is to be open to everything, which means good, bad, and indifferent, or closed, which limits your opportunity. But in that process, it's important to kind of know where you're going. Not maybe know how you're going to get there, but know what you want out there, because there's a bombardment of information. And if you don't tell your subconscious brain, which is driving your conscious brain, where you want to go, it lets everything in. So like you're saying, I'm learning 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 things, but maybe 2 or 3 are way more important for getting there than the other 4 or 5, okay? Not that they're not good, okay? Because it's all relative. But I think it's just as important, so number one, being open to information, but number 2, where am I going? What is it I try to achieve? And it doesn't, and people always think that they got to know exactly what they want. Like, I got to know exactly what my goal is. And it's almost like they'll never get started. You know, Emerson, a great philosopher, said, do the thing you have the power. He didn't say you're going to know what you're doing and then you go do the thing. He says by doing the thing, you get the power, okay? So in essence, again, back to your question is, yeah, open to everything, but also have the right filters to drive it towards where you're going and keep involved in that activity. You know, let the things in that can get you closer to that, keep the things out that aren't going to get you closer to that.
As I recently sat and watched you speak, a comment was made to me. That's the longest I've ever seen you sit without wiggling. And I said, you know what, when you can relate to what somebody's saying, I have a lot of people around me that will say, well, tell me exactly what the plan is before we arrive for a shoot. And I said, you know, I can only tell you this, but I really don't know until actually I'm there and I'm rolling. Because I can't script it out from A to Z. It's just like meeting with you here today. I can read and research everything I want about you, but until I'm actually face to face with you, I'm gonna feel things that really wasn't part of my agenda.
Exactly.
So if I'm locked in, I'm just a talking head. I want to be able to try to figure out where you're coming from and how everybody else can learn from it. Tell me, at what point from today back to say 25, 30 years ago, where was the lowest point where you thought, my gosh, what am I gonna do now?
Be real quick with it. It was I didn't grow up like I grew up a very normal kid, just very normal, which is great.
So you weren't fed with a silver spoon?
Zero that side, very on that side. No, the anti that.
Okay.
But then also wasn't really successful in a lot of things. I would call me normal, grades, child, everything, and great. But loved my childhood. Went to school, college, and basically flunked out first year. Became a beach bum on Daytona Beach. Okay, for a year, and I really did. And I had my wake day of decision, discuss whatever. And I went back, got into college, and pretty much went straight A's. Graduated at the top of the business school. Now I was a C student through my entire 12 years of school. From there, I got real fortunate and I got to work with a Fortune 100 company called Texas Instruments, and just charged through the ladder. Ended up at a management position at Texas Instruments in my late 20s, which is ridiculous, and then left that to start my own company and built one of the largest solar manufacturing, marketing, and distribution companies in the United States. All that, and then the whole tax situation at that time that was driving that industry eroded. A lot of things happened, and that industry literally in 90 days disappeared, this huge industry. And I literally lost everything. And I was sitting there on my bed, and I remember Renee walked in, and she saw me, and she'd never seen me down, hurt, broken. And I was broken for a day, okay? And I remember, I look at her, I go, I did everything right. I went back to school, I studied, worked my way through school. Everybody else was playing, I worked my way through school. I made the good grades, I graduated top. I got hired by a Fortune 100 company, I went to the top. I started my company, hired hundreds of people, went to the top, and I am broker now than when I was on that beach as a beach bum, 12 years ago. And I said, what is this all about, And I had to just say, well, there has to be something good that came out of that, What's not good if I just stayed there. Just said, well, that's not meant to be. And it was just, so I had to have my moment of reflection and my little pity party to a certain degree. And then I said, I got to go forward again. I just started going. But literally 12 years, and I was broke, and doing everything right. And I was broker here than I was when I was a beach bum, just out of high school on Daytona Beach.
I laugh, not because I thought it was funny, but it makes sense now that a guy like me that doesn't have a college education, you're damn right I'm street smart, because that's how I got to where I'm at today from being street smart. But I found it ironic to find out that you did good in college the second time around, like you said, you failed out the first time. But yet you're proud to say you're street smart, and you very rarely will find someone with your education that actually will use the word, I'm street smart.
I'm actually more proud of that than anything else.
Isn't that something?
Because again, we go right back to where you started, relationships.
Sure.
Okay, you just learn relationships. I meet people all the time, and I go, and I'll be talking to them, and I'll just say, you were probably doing this on the school grounds in elementary school. You were probably that person, because you can see that they've developed some skill sets, which is street smarts, okay, and dealing with people, and so back to street smarts is that you don't. How do you build a relationship being smart with a book? That's not a relationship. Okay, relationship is interacting with people, and sometimes when you're, say, quote unquote street smarts, you're challenged because you're coming with less and trying to be more, and the only way you're going to do that is you're going to have other people embracing you who may have more, and you have to learn how to build relationships. Now, I'm not saying sucking up to them. I'm just saying, but you got to start building relationships with people, and you got to build relationships with people around you, that support you. So I think people who are street smarts are basically relationship smart also.
To be able to help people, there's so many people that want to reach out, and whether it's the homeless, whether it's battered women, there are so many abused people out there that if I just said abused people, that probably would fit about 20 categories. But I think what we tend to do is we really forget about the kids. Now, my kids are over 30. I fear for anybody that's raising their kid today. It freaks me out to think about it. Some of my friends, my nieces, the grandkids, you think, my gosh, what's it going to be like in 10 years? You have something that might have been one of the biggest impact. I'm a guy who doesn't like to read. So who would think I'd want to pass out 20,000 books to teenagers to be able to say, you know what? I'm street smart, but I want to tell every one of you, if you read this book, you'll know what you're looking for, because right now there's a good chance, and that's how kids end up off the streets, when drugs, and they never have the opportunities to go because they're lost and they don't know what to go for. By creating this book and being able to give it to a teenager, I gotta tell you, of all the things I've ever heard, this might be one of the most powerful things to get a kid while he's young before it's too late.
Same thing. I wrote a book, and I took that book to Success Magazine and partnered with Success Intellectual Properties to take that book to schools. We've given away about 2 million of them right now so far.
Unbelievable.
And the whole concept was to get kids understanding the power of personal development. You know, the books you read. We ask people to do simple things like read 10 pages of a good book a day. But you know, you think about 10 pages of a good book a day, you know, basically in a month, that's a book. Okay. Anybody can do 10 pages. You tell somebody to read a book, they go,
yeah,
10 pages, I can do that. But you know, the thing I try and get across to people is, you know, and especially young people, I go, do you understand, when you read a book, usually you're reading the experience of somebody's life. So if somebody took a lifetime to learn something, and you can learn that in 1 month by reading 10 pages of a good book, that's it. All you gotta do is read 10 pages a day, and in 1 month, you learn everything somebody else had to spend their entire lifetime learning. Isn't it smarter to 10 pages, that's maybe 20 minutes max, and you get to in 1 month, get all, because when that person writes that book, you know, if you've ever done anything like that, for every page that's there's 10 pages that make it. You're getting the best of that person. And so my whole thing is, why would I go and waste my life learning it? And so that's the point of trying to get across to kids. You want it's a simple one little thing you could do that over time will separate you from the masses. 10 pages a day, 1 book a month, 12 books a year, how many books in a decade, separates you from everybody else, because you are now getting the combined effect of all those people's lives funneled into you. How could you not be able to make better decisions, be a better person, have better relationships than a person who doesn't do that? But it's just 10 pages, a simple little thing like that.